Accident victims like you deserve better. A husband and wife were rear-ended, and insurance offered them $10,000. We litigated the case and got them $375,000. Qualified expert attorneys can get you more. Call Zirkin and Schmerling today.
Good evening, Baltimore City. This is City Voters Live Podcast, and I'm your host, Desmond Stiddy. And in studio this evening, I've got the chairman of the People for Elected Accountability and Civic Engagement, the one and only, the indelible Giovanni Patterson. How's that for an introduction?
Man, I don't know what you're talking about, brother.
The indelible one.
What's up, man?
Not too much, man. But not too much, and then everything. But you know how this beautiful city of Baltimore gives us plenty to talk about and discuss with the people and the voters of Baltimore City. So excited to be back in studio with you. Took a little bit of a break.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I was embarrassed.
Tell me about it.
I was embarrassed, man. At first, after the Ravens lost.
That was a tough one.
And then, Mayor Scott had made that bet with the mayor of Kansas City that if we lost, we got to paint the city red.
Yeah.
I'm driving down 95 and I'm looking across, I'm driving down 95 north of the tunnel, right? And I'm looking across the city,
right.
It's one of the most beautiful views of the city when you're driving by. And it's all red.
Yeah, well, come on now. I mean, first, how you gonna jinx the game, right? And then make that bet, right?
I know.
Like now we all gotta suffer.
Look,
right?
Man, I understand being confident. Hey, man, but we all suffer from that one, man. If you want to make that kind of bet, do it on a personal level.
Let it be you suffering alone.
Yeah, right? Man. You got the rest of us having to see the city hall being red. Then you got St. Agnes painted red, and
we had to watch him walk around in that funky jersey all week long, and then deal with a red city.
Deal with a red city. Man. Come on, man.
He got us on that one. There's something got to be done about it. But
just no more bets like that, man. Don't give away the kings to the kingdom, man.
Right. Let it impact you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't take us all down with you. Man, I hear you. I hear you on that one. That is nothing but truth right there. But yeah, so it's been a minute. We you and I, we went down, we interviewed P. David Bramble and MCB Real Estate together. I was on camera, but you were in the room handling everything else, and did a wonderful job. I appreciate all that you did to get that production. My game doesn't travel too good, but yours certainly does. But we got it, and it was a great interview. Very, very engaging gentleman. But I hadn't had a chance to really just sit down with you and get your take on the interview. I got a chance to discuss it with the voters, myself, but I'm very interested in what you got out of that time that we spent with David Bramble.
First off, like, he gets it, right? I think there's part of us that, we're so reluctant to change that we don't believe that the people that want to improve our city have the same things that we might have
the good
at heart.
intentions. Right.
Yeah. So, he's a Baltimore guy. He's one of the ones that you want to hold up as an example of he's from Baltimore.
Right.
And, he gets it. Do I agree with everything in the plan? I wouldn't say I do, but, my name's not David Bramble.
Right. And also, he made it clear that they're open to suggestions. They want to hear from people.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And that was the other thing, transparency and accessibility. Right. So, a lot of times we think like these developer types are untouchable, or these people that are in these particular positions we don't have access to. But he's like, hey, man,
and they usually are. And he's different in that aspect. Yeah.
And I know one of the big complaints from the community has been, with the outreach. Well, he didn't touch. He didn't ask my vote. Well, he might not have come through you directly, right? He might not have knocked particularly on your door, but I think there were plenty. Like, if you went outside, like, I think there were plenty of opportunities, to engage that, quite frankly, even I missed, right? Right. So and it was amazing that because I didn't notice this at first, right? But first, he showed, how he put the ad on buses, right? And he reached out to different ways and different means. And then I just so happened to be driving downtown. I was on Conway and going to Conway, and then, you make the left on Light Street.
Lo and behold.
Right there is a big sign to say, if you want to.
Right. Yeah. and that's what I'm glad you caught that too, because, it wasn't like he didn't solicit the feedback. Right. Yeah.
So that, I really, got the, and it provided a different level, of respect for, people who want to, invest in the city and I thought he made another great point. I'm gonna, shut up. But if he doesn't own it, right, it goes back to whomever.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And if somebody else buys it, they may not do that same level of engagement.
Yeah, they're not.
They may not.
Yeah.
Right now we have the benefit of
being able to
being
work with
purchased one by somebody from Baltimore, someone who's built the company in Baltimore, someone who owns several properties within and around Baltimore and in the state of Maryland, and has expanded a portfolio outside of just here. I mean, we should be
embracing this opportunity,
embracing an opportunity. Yeah. But it's just one of those things, right? So initially I'm gonna be quite frank, I wasn't a fan of the design
at the beginning.
Right. I wasn't a fan of what it was, but then when he explained, one of the big complaints, are you blocking access to the water? And when he broke it down and explained
you can see it,
you actually get more access to the water.
Right, a lot more. And I went down and viewed everything that he said, because I've been hearing the talking points, and I said, well, let me go see if it's true. Yeah. Right. So I went down. I rented a drone company to get me aerial footage. Yeah. I went down on foot, stood on Light Street, went to Key Highway, got all the film. And by the end of it, I was like, he's not BSing. Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought he made another great point on why the existing Harborplace failed. Right.
That was important to learn.
Yeah, because we talk about we want to support local business, local local entrepreneurs, and then when you have essentially a property manager that's saying we need to pay the bills and we're going to bring in all the chains. Right. Yep. If I can go to Cheesecake Factory somewhere else and have parking and not have to worry about I'm not getting
lost its uniqueness. Right. Is what he said.
You lost your uniqueness. And so and that's why I say he gets it. Right. Yeah. There's one thing you're going to start hearing me say this more and more. The only thing I want to do is see Baltimore win.
Right. That's all.
I want to see Baltimore win economically, politically, and educationally.
Right. Yeah.
And when he showed the plan, he's a businessman. So yes, he wants to make money.
Of course, it's got to be viable.
Yes, that's the only way this thing survives.
Right. Because what's there now is not viable, and that's why it's in the shape that it's in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And he made all of those points very succinctly, right? Just from the way that they talk about what their pillars were when they sat down to start to put pen to paper. And if you are an entrepreneur or any type of business mind, everything, like you said, it makes sense, right? And then I start thinking about the other developments that are going on. You go out to Owings Mills, and you got the Avalon, and you go up to Hunt Valley. All of them have a residential component. Yeah, I had a friend that's in the business of acquiring golf courses right now. You know what they're doing? They're taking instead of a facility that used to be 54 holes. They're knocking it down to 36 holes, right? 2 courses, and guess what they're doing with the rest of it? Residential, right? Yep. So, it's definitely a model that makes sense under many scenarios. And the first thing, like you said in the beginning, obviously I was skeptical. I wasn't critical, but I was skeptical, and it seemed like it was just another condo project or whatever. But as you sit down, I said I had to clear my personal feelings away from it. And I had to say, let's think about what's economically viable. Yeah. And let me listen to the plan from a standpoint of I'm going to take all personal opinions out of the equation. Yep. And I'm just going to listen to what the plan is and why the plan is that.
Absolutely.
And that's what drove the questioning, in there. And I was so glad that you were able to join me and be in the room and I'm able
well,
to get
thank you for the invite, man.
Yeah,
I will make this suggestion though. I would say make I don't know what the model is for the residential part is just yet. But I will say, start making some of those like ownership units versus just rentals.
The challenge with that, and that was one of the questions I asked, why not create homeowners rather than transient renters? Nothing against renters, but why not create homeowners? And that is because the land is a ground lease. So you can't sell personal property on top of a ground lease, right? So that land is still owned by the city. But what they have the rights to build on top of it as long as they adhere to the ground lease, but you can't sell it. Like, it's not like a property like what we're sitting on right now.
Man, we got so many rules, man.
Yeah, it's a lot to it. But when you ask the questions, and people, if they just ask the questions, they're going to give you the answers. Is what I determined. And like you said, it's that level of transparency that's given me a level of comfort that these guys, one, know what they're talking about. Obviously, they know what they're talking about. The guy's highly successful, way smarter than I am. But they're not, they're in it obviously to make money, because that's the business, right? That's the part. They don't borrow the money from their investors unless they're going to return it with interest, right? And what I guess, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I'm a fan of Silo Point, because I know they down there, or you can they have some rental units, but for the most part it's ownership,
right? But they own the land around it, so that's private property.
But even once you own it, man, them HOA fees.
You never really own it when you got HOA fees.
Them HOA.
Don't get me started on those. I tell you, I had certain criteria when I was looking for a house. One was like no community, what do you call those? No homeowners associations, and no damn fees, right? And no preservation trust. Nobody's gonna come tell me what color I'm gonna paint my shutters. Right?
What color lights
doing that. So what I'm finding really at this point with this project is really three different opposition types, right? And stay with me here. So for the first type is kind of the scholarly architectural types, and I get them, right? Because my wife had a friend one time as an architect, and this dude would not even spend the night in a hotel if he thought it was architecturally unattractive. Right?
I mean, he's true to his craft.
He's true to the craft. So how can you hate on that? Look, he's so committed, to that. So there was a master plan that came out in the 60s, right? So it's that period of time where the design of the harbor, because it's enclosed on three sides, they wanted it to be kind of low risen right off of the water. And then you got these two huge boulevards, right? Pratt Street and Light Street, that separate the harbor, inner harbor part, from the rest of the business district. And across those boulevards is where they said, that's where we want to kind of step. And even there were height restrictions this close, and then it stepped back, right? Yeah. And that was kind of the master plan from an architectural standpoint, so the postcard looks real good, right? So I understand those guys that really are, they feel an emotional attachment to that plan. And it makes sense. It's kind of an occupational, situation hazard with them. And then you have the second group, which I consider just, hey, let's just make it a park. Let's make it all green space. And those are the ones that really don't have, the concept of business and commerce, and the fact that, if you're going to have a space like that and you have that many visitors, and, you want to monetize it, right? I mean, there's only, you can't monetize. I mean, you can't monetize Patterson Park. It's an amenity, right? It's an amenity for the people that live around that park, right? And the Inner Harbor is really, it's not that, right?
It's a destination.
It's a destination, right?
People come on vacation there.
If you're in Howard County, I mean, how much more grass do you need? You're gonna come all the way to Baltimore City to sit on some grass? I mean, no, you're gonna come to Baltimore City to get something that you can't get in Howard County. So I get those guys, but this is our number one tourist spot in the city, and it needs to be a place of commerce.
So I mean, to that point though, right? I think there's often this I guess kind of overlooking what business revenue actually brings to I think there's this false perception. Okay, corporations don't pay taxes, right?
Right.
But when you're driving, visitors and people into your local economy, right, that does generate a lot of local tax revenue,
of course.
And we have all these additional dreams we want to accomplish with transportation infrastructure and all these other goals. And if you are rejecting people from spending their money inside your town,
right,
you're almost like shooting yourself in the foot when it comes to expanding some of these additional projects. Right. So you want more green space. All right, so let's get some more people pumping in the money so it doesn't cost us as much.
Right. Yeah. And we can put green space in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, that's where you want to go all the way to Harbor to walk your dog? I mean, no, I want to go around the corner to walk my dog.
I mean, think about, where you live, where I live, like we want to be able to put more money into taking care of our front yard and our neighborhoods. And, we live in areas that's a lot of green space, right? If you look at a drone shot from, it's all green with the little dots for the houses. We live in green space.
Yeah. I don't know why. Of course, it'd be nice to have some green space at the harbor. We're not saying that, but we're saying overall the thing's got to be an economic engine.
But speaking of green space, I mean, he showed the layout where we're planting plenty of trees.
In fact, if you look at the footprints of the existing buildings, because they're low rise, right? The run of them is very long, and that's what he's talking about, where that blocks the ground level view to the water, because you got something that's really wide and short.
And where are most people looking at the water from?
The ground, 99.99%. And so the people I see complaining about the view are the ones that have the condos across the street, right? But that's a very small number of people that can do that. And so we love you, the people that want green space and parks, but this is the economic engine of the city, and we should trust the man that knows how to drive the revenue like that. And the last group that I've noticed, the third group, and I hate to use this term, but it's a little bit of sour grapes, right?
Yeah.
And those are the folks who, had they known that that this type of opportunity would have existed for them, they probably would have bought it. So they didn't want to buy it and turn it into a festival marketplace, which it is, or keep it a festival marketplace. But they would have been interested in it if they known they could build apartments.
Yeah.
So are you really against apartments being there, or are you against the fact that you didn't get the opportunity to do it?
For some people, it's a game, man.
Yeah.
Some people, and some people can play that game.
Hey, play on. I'm not hating the play. I'm just calling the game.
Yeah,
right.
Some people can play that game.
Right. That's all I can do. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, they had the first hearing was Tuesday. I think it was the 13th. Looks like it passed out of committee. The legislative package that would be needed to pass and really greenlight the project. But we'll see. It's with the full committee, the full council committee now. The public's going to have. We had Councilman Costello joined us last week to talk about that entire process, how everyone will have an opportunity, to weigh in on that on the legislative process. So hopefully people. I mean, I know people are engaged. There were a lot of people at the hearing offering testimony, emailing their testimony, doing everything that they need to do as citizens to stay engaged, and you should do that regardless of what side you're on or how you feel. Stay connected to the process and participate, and you're going to get your opportunity to do so. And so shifting gears here a little bit, you just want
hold on, but before we go off, but because I want you talk about park space just to kind of end it right there. The water taxi, right, goes. It terminates at what was it over there by the Rusty Scupper? One of the stops was over there. Right?
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't realize from the discussion that we had was that's part of a public park space.
It is. That's Rash Field over there. Yeah.
Well, that whole part in front of the townhomes.
Oh yeah. Oh, the promenade. Promenade. Yeah. So yeah, the promenade is all sidewalk right now, but they could do it. It's public space. I mean,
so public space, not parks, but public space.
Yeah.
But when we talk about access and blocking, blocking whatever views and stuff, most people don't know that the other side of those townhomes is public space.
Oh yeah, you can walk right behind them, but you can't access them because and that's what Bramble said. He said that those guys that did that project, they wanted to do towers so that they wouldn't have that line of condominiums along Key Highway. You drive down Key Highway, you don't even know that you're next to the harbor anymore. But if they would have been able to build up and monetize vertically, right, which is what they wanted to do, then we could all be enjoying that view of the harbor across that vista across the harbor as you're driving down Key Highway. So they told them, no, we're not going to lift the height restriction for you. So they did what the only thing they could do was build, build a footprint, build a much bigger footprint, and you can't, and that's not, that area is not between the promenade and the street. Is private property, so you can't traverse that area. I got a nice little JPEG of the private property sign that sits right out front. Don't come in here, and that's what we ended up getting. So a lot of times you just cut off your nose to spite your face. Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely, man. I never know the little quips and phrases, man. I just they kind of play in my head, like I see them, but I can never get them out. It's how I grew up, man. There was something to say about everything. I just had to catalog them. Yeah. We got a new writing assignment when I get home. Yeah, just write this 1,000 times. Right. You just commit it to memory. Oh, my favorite senator, Joe Carter. So you just got a chance to watch the video.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Yeah,
she is something else, man.
Oh my goodness. And the thing is so when I got wind that something went down there, the first thing I said is like, well, let me see where she posted. I mean, she was in an accident. I want to make sure she's okay. Yeah. Check the social medias and everything else. She posts about everything else on the sun. Nothing. So obviously my nosy tail, right? I'm gonna go check it out. So, it turns out there's a person that's injured, and there's really, I mean, the whole thing is a little bit of much ado about nothing, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, what struck me is that there was a person that was injured, I wouldn't say gravely injured, but injured, right? Yeah. And I would have liked to seen her go down there and check on that woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get in the ambulance with her, and you don't have to admit anything, but at the end of the day, show some concern.
Well, it's kind of one of those things, right? If you're a pastor, what are you expected to do, right? If you're a police officer, what are you expected to do, right? If you're a public servant, right, elected by the people, regardless of where they are, right? Like what are you expected to do, right? And I understand, sometimes with accidents you might be shaken up or whatever, but after looking at the conversation, and I mean, she wasn't that shaken up to show some level of concern, or at least
about whose fault it was.
Some compassion. Let me tell you this, man, because this kind of this whole idea of getting into an accident or whatever, that really just kind of hit home with me. This not even a week ago. I was right out here on Northern Parkway, and right in front of Sinai at the intersection of Green Spring, on the Sinai side of Green Spring, because it got that little split intersection kind of thing, right? And there's a gentleman on a motorcycle on the westbound side, and he is at in the left-hand turn lane. As we're approaching the intersection, me, a group of cars and stuff, our light turns green, but I guess this guy thinks he can make the intersection, make the turn. Yeah. So he proceeds to start making the turn. The car to the left of me slows down enough, doesn't hit him. Me, I had to slam on brakes, and I was this close to hitting him. Wow. Right. But there was a car coming on the right side of me, like a Jeep Cherokee, and T-bones the motorcycle.
Whoa. Yeah.
Bro, like, so, and it's like, this is happening right in front of me, and my daughter's in the back seat of the car.
Wow.
And my daughter's like one of the most caring, compassionate little girls, as she's 11 years old. And she sees all this happening. She's ready to punch me in the back of my head, talking about, "Daddy, was that you?"
Right.
thinking I'm the one that hit him.
Yeah.
It's like, no, baby, no. There was a car next to us. He couldn't see him. He couldn't see right. And the driver, the motorcycle rider definitely shouldn't have made the turn.
Right.
He was riding with someone else.
Yeah.
And the other cyclist, motorcyclist didn't make the turn. Right. This guy just kind of, I guess, daredevil went out on his own.
Mm-hmm.
But in that sense, you see people care.
Right.
You see people, the compassionate people had, like, this guy flies 15 feet in the air. His motorcycle's like 200 yards, down the street. But you see everybody around, right? Care.
Show some concern. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Everybody around.
Yeah.
Care. And then the guy that hit him, like, he's shaking up, right?
Of course.
Mr. Dwight, man, I hope he's doing all right. And he's shaking up because he just hurt somebody.
Saw somebody get injured. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Regardless of fault.
Right.
Regardless of fault. Because
his thing is humanity.
It's my his thing in his head is it's my fault. I just hit somebody. I just hit this guy on a motorcycle.
Right.
I hit his body with my car.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. First concern is for the well-being of that human being. Right?
Yeah. So I say all to say, like, that's just kind of like one of those, regardless of fault, that's one of those general human things. And to me, it was good to see that people care.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also, because you can contrast that with the incident on not Pulaski, but off Route 40. Route 40, where the cyclist got hit. The one we talked about last time.
Right.
And the person drove off.
Yeah.
Right.
And so who knows what was on that person's mind? And sometimes, that person may have fallen asleep and thought they hit the curb. Right. You never know. At that hour at night, you might have hit a deer,
stolen car, and they're trying to get away,
or stolen car and they're trying to get away. Could be. I'm trying. I'm trying. Whoever you are in that car, I'm trying. But yeah, you the first things first, right? Is to make sure that the health of the person is and to not show concern it's just a pure lack of humanity.
Yeah.
And
and I noticed when Jill Carter was on that traffic stop in the body cam, what I see, she's using all her lawyer lingo. I don't recall the lights. I don't.
It could have been right.
It could have been. Yeah. It could have been.
Yeah. Well, here's what we know: her arm's broken. Go get in the ambulance. Right. Go get in the ambulance. Show some concern for this person. Right.
Yeah.
We'll deal with fault later.
Yep.
And that's really the reason that I even watched the entire video, because I'm waiting for her to go check on this woman.
Yeah.
Right. Because I want to see. If the woman's okay. And it was disappointing. That was certainly these are
the people who are in office. These were people that represent Baltimore. These are the people that are supposed to have your best interest, right? And if I don't know if it truly speaks to her character, but it definitely sends some type of message.
It speaks to something. Right. It speaks to something. Right. And if that's how you behave when you think no one's looking, right, then that's just how you behave. That's how you really know a person is how they behave when they think no one is looking. And
it's integrity.
It is. And if that's who you are, that's how you govern. Right. And we'll get a lot more into that as we talk about the candidates that filed right around the deadline. But I want to take a quick minute to pat ourselves on the back at Baltimore City voters. Okay. All right. So this may be breaking news to you, but everybody else in the group has been watching this. But and this group exists for this, for this very purpose. There was a person who submitted a post into the group, and they wanted to post anonymously, and I allowed it. And they had been living next door to a property that's been abandoned and vacant. And they've had all types of issues, squatters coming in, those types, real dangerous situations. I mean, these are the types of scenarios where, somebody lights a candle, falls asleep, and next thing you know, the house, the vacant house is on fire, and this poor person potentially live next to a hazard, right? I mean, we've lost fire, women and men, to these situations. And it's a real problem in the city that these vacant houses are being commandeered by these squatters. And the squatters were getting in because they had filed several 311 requests to have it boarded up sufficiently so that no one could get back in. And I guess out of pure exasperation, because their 311 requests would always get closed, but they would not. The issue wouldn't be remedied. Yep. And they were very specific. It's the back door in the basement. They were telling them exactly where it was, but the problem wasn't getting fixed. And they decided to post it in Baltimore City Voters.
Okay.
Within a short amount of time, the director of the Department of Housing and Community Development, Miss Alice Kennedy, responded, said, email me here. A few days later, that person's quality of life was drastically improved.
Wow. That's
why
amazing.
we do this.
Yeah.
That's why we do it.
Right? That's the civic engagement piece, right? I mean, I don't know why it takes blasting people or just putting it on public like this when, for issues to get resolved. But it is good to have resources like, the City Voters group to get issues like this resolved. Right. When, because they know, hey, Baltimore City officials run off reputation alone, mostly, for the most part.
Yeah. Right.
And if they realize, oh, this guy told a whole bunch of people that I wasn't doing something, let me get it done real quick.
Right. Very similar thing happened when my stoplight was out over here on Green Spring.
Yep.
Was out for days. I posted one video of that light being out. I went to, I think, Home Depot to pick up some screws or something. I wasn't there long. I mean, even though the Home Depot over here in Ricestown is probably the worst customer service you ever gonna get, I found what I needed really quickly that day and got back out. And by the time I got home, one of the lights was fixed and they were putting the generator on the other one.
Wow.
Simply because I posted it on Baltimore City Voters. Department of Transportation came out and done it.
Wow.
And you're absolutely right. I was, pat myself on the back, but I think I got to be a little more cynical. It's that public lambasting that.
But you gotta understand, like you're maintaining a platform that allows people and gives people that access, right? We talk about, access is one of those big buzzwords, right? And a lot of people don't have, personal relationships with their council member or have that connection in City Hall. I mean, Baltimore is not that big, right? Yeah. But sometimes people just don't have that connection and they don't know where to turn.
Right.
Council members ignoring the emails, whatever, or you're not making a big enough fuss about a particular issue, whatever it is, right? And the City Voters group provides everyone a platform to say, hey, this is what's going on in my neighborhood.
Right.
And all the people are on it, all the necessary people are in this group.
In here. I always knew they were here, but I never knew if they were watching or paying attention.
Oh man, they watch.
What? Everybody's watching everything.
Everybody watching.
I always think it's just me spending too much time reading all these damn comments, but everybody.
You never know who's watching, man. Most people, because Facebook, you have to use your name. Well, for the most part, you use your name.
Yeah.
A lot of people, even if it's something right, people just don't speak up. Right. And we for whatever reason. I mean, even me, like sometimes it just I just don't speak up.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're gonna keep encouraging them, and that right, like I said, as you mentioned, that's what the platform, that's what we're here to do, is to the extent that we can improve quality of life for anybody, any voter, you member or not of Baltimore City Voters. If you live in Baltimore City and it's something that you think that this platform can help you get resolved, please don't hesitate to post. Don't hesitate to reach out at bcv@cityvoterslive.com, and we'll do our level best, because people just, I think they place a lot of emphasis on one statistic, and that's murders, right? But murders, by and large, 99% of them are going to, I'm not really concerned about being murdered. I might be concerned about whether or not my trash is going to get picked up or my car is going to get stolen, or whether or not I'm going to sit in traffic because, it's been manufactured by these damn road narrowings. Yeah. But I'm more worried about the quality of life stuff. Yeah. Right. And most people are. Right. Yeah. And that's going to be the criteria that people take with them to the ballot box is, how has it been for me living in this city for the past 4 years?
Absolutely.
Right. And
it's important for people to remember that, though.
Yeah.
Right. You have to remember that.
Right.
Right. You have to remember,
Right.
like, what's my wallet looking like? Are my services being provided?
Right.
Right. And I do think sometimes we go back to the personality thing where we're making votes on the personality, and it's how I felt about you last week.
Right. It's short-term memory. Right.
Right.
It's short-term, and they know that. Right.
Right.
So the folks that are, the income is going to raise a ton of money.
Yep.
And they're going to spend a lot of money telling you all these wonderful things that they did and that they're going to do.
Yep.
Right. And then you forget, like, oh, just 5 months ago, my recycling was like as high as the ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be here reminding people, right, of what the last 4 years have been like.
Yeah.
Right?
And look, because starting in March, people of Baltimore, you get a little nugget. You get a little nugget of what you already had.
Yeah.
And that's the weekly recycling.
Right. Right.
It starts back up.
Placed right around election time.
It starts back up.
And it's like, and instead of like people being outraged about the fact that someone would play politics with your trash, right? They're going to just be happy that it's back.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that. You got to remember, your memory's got to be long term, because that election is one day.
Yeah, and
right?
that's part of the election strategy, right? That's part.
Of,
you've worked on campaigns.
Oh, yeah.
You're like this kind of like this psychology, and it comes with these 24-hour news cycles and what's important now and what are you talking about now, but. We got to remember this stuff.
Yeah, got to remember it, and it's up to us to make sure that people are reminded of what they were given for 3 years, 8 months and whatever, 24 days, whatever it was since recycling was taken back. And I think I don't know. I feel like there's a bit of a enough is enough attitude right now. And I think it's showing by the folks that have filed to run and why they filed. A lot of them have reached out, to us here at City Voters. And the first question I'm gonna ask is, why are you running?
Yeah.
Right? What is it that made you feel like you wanted to go down there and go through that process of getting your name put on a ballot?
Yep.
And when I talk to people who have filed in the 7th and the 8th and the 9th and things like that, there's a real feeling that their quality of life issues just for them have been completely ignored. Right. And the thing that I'm hearing the most is that they feel like the city is kind of headed in a direction that doesn't include them. Right. When they look around and they see what is getting attention. I think Councilwoman Ramos spoke to this when we played her. Last time you were here, we played that. And people are looking around and they're saying, I've been talking about this issue, that issue, and that issue for a long time. And you come and solve some issue that I wasn't even talking about and did so overnight without even asking me. Right. And so they're starting to feel like who are they building the city for? And then when they reach out to their representatives, the representatives seem to be on the side of the agency or or whoever, but they certainly aren't standing up for those people. And and these people are the man. I mean, Baltimore still the voting bloc, right? It's still African American women. 50 plus, right?
Yeah.
And those are the people who I'm listening to that are completely fed up and feel like the city is no longer interested in serving them, to the point that one of our citizens, one of our legacy residents, Linda Batts, right, is literally just advocating for her neighborhood about what's happening with infrastructure around her. And, a lobbyist decides he's just going to dox her online.
Man, and I don't know how the city is still, working with this guy at all.
And she's asked the city that, right? And then she goes to the mayor and asks the mayor, please do something about this guy. And the only thing that she gets back is a response saying, I have no purview over this person. Now, you and I both know that Baltimore City and St. Louis are the two cities where the mayor has they operate as independent, jurisdictions, separate from any county. But the mayors of those cities are very, very strong. Right. And if the mayor wanted to suggest that the city was no longer going to work with Bikemore until they handled that situation, I'm sure that situation would get handled. And that's what I'm speaking to, is that when the people filed to run, and I asked them why they filed, it's situations like that, because when Linda Batts can feel like her mayor doesn't care about her safety, then that's a real issue, and a real issue with a group of voters who are really going to determine, what happens in on May 14th and beyond. And it's a sad state of affairs when a Black woman in this city has to have her residence doxed like that, and have nobody.
I just don't get, like, who does he like? Like, I mean, I've been thinking. I've posted this video back when I was campaigning. It's not a popular video, but I do have this kind of, and people can call me conspiracy theorist all you want, but I do believe there is an effort to change change the people who are in Baltimore City. Right. Not, you can change the city, I guess, in two ways, like, change the minds. Like, and I think you do that through proper education. That's why we fight for education the way we do, building the talent here, or care nothing about the talent that you have here, right, and just replace them with the people that you want to bring in. Right. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing. Right. People, who are coming from, and granted, I want to see Baltimore grow. I want to see, I want to see people come here because we can, we provide,
but it's got to be additive.
Instead of, so we're taking the people that we have, not caring about the people that we have,
making them
not cultivating, not nourishing and feeding the people that we have. And instead, the mission seems to be, let them kill each other off. Let them remain uneducated.
Give them no services.
Let's
don't make them feel safe. So
they leave because they don't think the way we want them to think.
Right.
Because they don't want to do the things that we want them to do. Right. And we want to bring in the people that are going to, say yes to everything.
Right. And they're going to, and you can see it in the infrastructure. And one of the things that, and I agree with you totally. And I never wanted to believe that it was intentional, but when you think about all of the vacant properties that are not coming back online, whatever, I don't care what the excuse is. It is completely unforgivable that we've had that many vacant houses in these communities for that long. Number one, it's killing firefighters. It's killing, it's making people not want to live on the block or near that block. It's one of the, and then you look at the new residences that are coming into the city. And I haven't done a study on this yet, and I don't know, how or how if it could be done. But I'd love to take all of the new residences that have, been added to Baltimore's housing stock that are, multifamily. I don't think there's a whole lot of single family being built, right? But all the multifamily, and let's see if the makeup of those tenancies match the traditional percentages of the city. I think you'd answer your question right there.
I think you'll find
go down. I mean, Solid Point's fairly new, right? Let's go do a little census of just the new residences that were built in the last 10 years and see what the demographic makeup is of those households. If it doesn't look like the rest of the city, then we know what's going on, right? And
don't call me the bad guy.
I'm just asking questions here.
Don't call me the bad guy. I mean, I've been saying some of this stuff for man, it's 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah,
man, I've been in the public space now 4 years.
Yeah, you have.
This is crazy.
Don't drag me in the public space. I'm a private citizen.
Nah, man. I don't know, man.
You're the public official.
I'm a shy dude, bro.
I'm gonna go see if I can get some of those numbers.
And another set of numbers I really would like to see is over the past 3 3-4 years, how many businesses have left, how many businesses have closed down. Because we've seen tons and tons of businesses go down. But if we look at the numbers that came out, you know, he's talking about how many businesses or how the economics have improved of the city. You know, I've seen, you know, Aldo's close, the Italian restaurant. I mean, freaking the local oyster closed down in I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. A friend of mine sent me a picture of a tattoo shop that closed on Howard Street.
Wow.
Like stuff like the small business is not growing here. At least not without being cherry picked by again the ones making the decisions downtown.
Right.
I think anybody here should be able to come and thrive and build a business because, you know, it's economically viable. You know, you provide a valuable service to the community. The community wants the service, and you know, you state your claim here, but now you got to be you got to kiss the ring.
Yeah. And it all boils to you've heard me say this since you know, so you know, it all boils down to the system of government that we have and how the power is concentrated.
Yeah.
And what happens in this city is the tail starts wagging the dog, right? Because it's going to take money for that reelection to happen. And as long as they're the ones providing the financing, you know,
you got anybody you like coming up?
I'm not going to say publicly, but I tell you what, we're going to be spending time with a lot of candidates, and everyone's welcome. There's no one that is not welcome to come on to City Voters Live podcast. If you are running for office, if you are sitting in office now, even you, Ryan Dorsey, I'd still give you a microphone. That's just out of respect. And, you know, and it's fairness to the group, right? Yeah. Because it's not, in my opinion, it's not the only one that matters here. Everybody's welcome. But I can tell you that when I listen to the reasoning and the rationale for some of the people who have filed to run, when I talk to, you know, Sonia Edie down there in Poppleton, and you know, Tory Rose up here in the 7th, and you know, Kelly, of course I'm terrible with names.
Kelly Vaughn?
No, she's the 7th as well. Bigelow. Yeah, sorry, Kelly. You know I love you. Kelly Bigelow also in the 7th, and you know, Matt Joyce Jones over there in the 8th. You know, when I listen to these, and these are all African American women, you know, 50 plus, right? They're the voting bloc. And when they get to a point where they're saying enough is enough, and I had to throw my hat in the ring. Well, Tori's not 50 plus, she's younger. But you know, but we're going to be listening to what they have to say, because regardless of the result of the election, I think their issues are important. We're going to continue to highlight them. We're going to continue to try to do everything we can to improve the quality of life for everybody in Baltimore City. But we're going to focus on these legacy folks who are starting to feel left out, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing I've been learning too about just life in general. There's a lot of wisdom there too.
Yeah. Oh, tons. Right. I learned so much because I'm not from Baltimore.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, there's a lot of wisdom, and we've gotten it to this point where we're no longer listening to wisdom as a culture and community. And I don't know why that is.
Well, I can tell you why it is. You're still a young guy. You here's the thing. Like, here's why I love you. You're young enough to be a millennial. You're in that millennial, but you're an old soul, right? And the problem with the millennials is that they think they know everything, right? So there's nothing to learn, right? Yeah. So they won't shut their mouth and just listen.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a lot of that is what's in leadership right now. Yeah. Is like, just, you know, close your mouth, open your ears, right? Because there's a lot that people have to say. And yes, we put you in office by electing you, but we didn't put you there to make all the decisions. We picked you there to like make the best decision based on our feedback and input. Yep. And what they shut off the valve for is our feedback and input, right?
Unless you agree
with them, right? And that's what's got to change. And I see that in the filings. and we're probably going to see a lot of that in the campaign messaging.
Yeah.
But like I said, we got, you know, what is it, 80 some days, right, to sit down and listen, you know, and give everybody a chance to have, you know, give everybody an opportunity to present their
and
case
get to know these folks, guys. Like, you gotta get to know them. Like, you can't just do the. I mean, you know, it is up to the candidate to build the campaign, to get the name recognition out there as much as possible. But as a voter, we have a responsibility to understand who we're pulling that lever for as well, right? It's not just because they have a certain letter behind their name, or because they, you know, have a pretty Facebook post or whatever it is,
or certain donors.
Right. Yeah. You have to start understanding who it is that you're picking to represent you, right? And what are they standing for, right? Is it for the community to thrive? Is it for you to have a better quality of life, or is it just to go along with the status quo? And one of the things, you know, that I've heard a lot of the politicians say is that a lot of the public just don't know how government works, right? And they kind of run with that phrase to keep people out, right? And, you know, and then when a lot of the people do get in government, they kind of just get caught up into that whole thing of understanding how government works when it's not working for the people, right? And we just got to get people that back in office or want to run in office to start really focusing on that quality of life, and the people of Baltimore have to vote for those candidates that are supporting quality of life,
right? And listening to you, because you are the mandate.
Yeah.
And either do what I ask, or you're not going to have that position anymore. It's that simple. Well, thank you for coming by again.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Appreciate you. And let's get back out on the road and start interviewing some of these folks.
Oh yeah, we got some work to do, man.
Excellent.
We got work to do.
Until next time, Baltimore, stay safe.
Peace.